The Baltimore Ravens get a key player to this Ravens-Steelers matchup back at practice today. They also had a player get injured at practice today. And Stephen A. Smith is claiming that Lamar Jackson's camp is reaching out to him to control the MVP narrative. We're talking about all that and more in today's episode of the Flock Rundown.
Ravens Flock. The Flock Rundown is the place to be.
Motionless brainwaves attempt to swim their way to sense, can't tame the untamed.
Appreciate you, Ray. What's up, Ravens fans? My name is Ryan, and welcome back to another episode of the Flock Rundown. So the Ravens get Kyle Hamilton back at practice today. It's only Thursday. I wasn't really expecting to potentially even see him until tomorrow, but the fact that he was a limited participant today, he was moving around well, definitely seems like he might be playing this Sunday. If he's logging a limited practice today, we'll see how tomorrow is. Obviously, if he has a setback and doesn't practice tomorrow, then we know what it is. But if he logs another limited session or even a full practice tomorrow, I think that he has decent chance to play this Sunday. That's a huge piece for this Ravens defense, a defense that, as we know, has been struggling, especially the secondary, the pass defense. So having Kyle Hamilton out there is huge, even if he is, a little less than 100%. I think Kyle Hamilton's IQ and his length and his ability to just find the ball and diagnose the play is going to help the Ravens defense out tremendously in a very crucial matchup against the Steelers this Sunday. Kyle Van Noy also returned to practice today. He missed yesterday with an illness, but he's back, so all good there. We actually had perfect attendance today, which is wild to be midway through November, halfway through the season, and we have a perfect practice report today. But we did unfortunately suffer an injury at practice. Arthur Maulet was seen in the locker room after practice in a walking boot. Some reporters were saying that his spirits were a lot lower than they were yesterday, and he is now on the injury report with a calf injury, which does not sound good at all. Usually calf, Achilles, that whole system goes together. But regardless of whatever happened to Arthur Maulet in practice today, he's already in a walking boot. I would imagine that he is not going to play this Sunday against his former team. I think the Ravens can recover from this. It's not like Arthur Maulet has been there all year long, but it's definitely not good for him, man. I feel bad for him. He's been battling injuries earlier in this season and then got back for these last few weeks and then just suffered another one. Hopefully it's not that serious and the walking boot is just precautionary. I don't really know exactly how long he's going to be out, but already being in a walking boot after getting hurt at practice today and then it's a calf injury. I never like seeing calf or Achilles. So, prayers up for Arthur Maulet, wishing him a speedy recovery. Hopefully he can get out there Sunday. I don't think so. Isaiah likely upgraded to a full practice today after having a limited practice yesterday, so good sign there. I definitely think Isaiah likely will be out there this Sunday. Another weapon for this explosive Ravens offense. We did fine without him last week. Mark Andrews is definitely back. He's playing his best ball, but having Isaiah likely out there is just another added weapon, another mismatch against linebackers and safeties that the Ravens can take advantage of. And then the Steelers are a little banged up too. They had Jaylen Warren miss practice today with a back injury. They had C.J. Henderson, their cornerback, missed practice today with a neck injury. Neither of those guys missed practice yesterday, so this is a new DNP. Cam Hayward missed practice again, but he's just on the injury report for rest, so I would imagine he's going to play Sunday. And then we know Alex Highsmith is not going to play Sunday. But let's move on to something that Stephen A. Smith said today on First Take that really blew my mind. And I usually don't show much attention to legacy media. I think it's a dying form of media. I'm not a big fan. I think local media is always the best source of information about a team, but I get it. They got a lot of viewers and things like that. But Stephen A. Smith today said that Lamar Jackson's camp reached out to him about him not acknowledging that he is the MVP this year. Let's just play the clip. I'm not going to show the video because I know I'll get copyrighted. I've done that before. So let's play the audio and you can get an idea for yourself.
Well, when you say a deep playoff run, we need to be more specific. Damn it, the Super Bowl. You got to get Super Bowl. I mean, enough's enough with the damn MVPs. And, his team texting me and stuff. You got this wrong. Dan Orlovsky is right. Stephen A. is Lamar all day, every day. Get to the damn Super Bowl, okay? That's where my focus lies. Lamar Jackson is 1-3 against the Steelers. He's 1-5 against the Chiefs. All of those games were against Patrick Mahomes. he's 65-18 against the rest of the league, okay? This is who Lamar Jackson is. So we know that for some inexplicable reason, even when the Steelers had the likes of Mason Rudolph or Kenny Pickett or Mitchell Trubisky, they still found a way to beat Lamar Jackson. I don't know if you need to be talking about him as your MVP. Not to say that he's not, but his camp I'm talking about don't need to be chirping about him being an MVP, and I love him. I love them all. But you don't need to be chirping about him being an MVP when you can't beat the damn Pittsburgh Steelers, considering what they've had at their disposal over the last few years, and you only have one victory against Patrick Mahomes.
So there's a few things to unpack here. First of all, Lamar Jackson is obviously the leading candidate for MVP. I don't even think that's a discussion. I do agree that Lamar needs to play better against Pittsburgh and Kansas City and needs to get over the hump and win a Super Bowl and have playoff success. You know, I understand all that, and a lot of that is team-oriented too. It's not just Lamar Jackson, but I totally get the narrative that he's got to get a Super Bowl. You know, there's always going to be a pushing the goalpost for Lamar. He can't always just have regular season dominance. You need to get a championship, and then I think the hate will chill out a little bit. But the fact that Stephen A is going on TV and saying that Lamar Jackson's team is reaching out to him and arguing that he needs to be talked about as the MVP sounds a little wild to me. Now, I don't know what this team entails. It could just be some of Lamar Jackson's boys who are, you know, mad that they heard Stephen A say that he shouldn't be the MVP right now because of X, Y, and Z. And they're like, what are you talking about? You know, Dan Orlovsky's right. It could be something like that where it's just friendly banter back and forth. And if that's the case, then it's really nothing. But if there's an actual team reaching out to Stephen A trying to like control that narrative, that is a little weird. And also, on the other hand, I don't know if Stephen A might say some stuff like this just to get some more views and get me talking about it. You know what I mean? So I definitely think this is interesting. I don't know why it would be a big deal of whether somebody thinks Lamar Jackson is the MVP this year or not. Even though he obviously is, there's always going to be some voice out there in sports who's going to say, no, I don't think he is because of this, because of he can't get over the Steelers. You know, he's got to beat the Steelers and then I can consider him MVP, whatever. He's obviously having an incredible season statistically. And that's usually what the MVP is weighted on. It's usually given to a quarterback on a winning team that has a dominant statistical season. And Lamar Jackson has 24 touchdown passes and 2 interceptions and is only 3 yards off leading the NFL in passing yards behind Joe Burrow, who has like 70 more attempts, by the way. So Lamar Jackson is playing the quarterback position by far the best in the entire NFL. He is leading the MVP conversation, whether Stephen A wants to acknowledge that or not. Even listening to that clip, I know that he knows he's MVP, but he felt the need to call out twice in that clip that Lamar Jackson's camp is texting him and saying that he is wrong. But that's it for today. Let me know what you guys think about that Stephen A situation. Do you think that he's telling the truth? Did Lamar Jackson's camp really reach out? And if they did reach out, were they being serious or were they kind of just getting on him because he didn't say that Lamar was the MVP? Either way, huge game this Sunday. I'll have the game preview episode out tomorrow. I think the Ravens can really show up in a big way and put some points on the board if we can protect Lamar and control that Steelers front. I think this is the get-right game for the Ravens defense, and I think the Ravens offense is going to be able to put up some points on this Pittsburgh secondary, but we'll dive into all that in more detail tomorrow. I can't wait. I appreciate you guys, as always, for tuning in to another episode of the Flock Rundown. Have a beautiful rest of your day, and I'll let the greatest linebacker in the history of the game take us out.
Ravens flock. The Flock Rundown is the place to be. My man Ryan has been a lifelong Ravens fan since he was born. The Flock Rundown. Nothing gets better than waking up and wondering how high we can fly. Tune in.
Motionless brainwaves attempt to swim their way to sense, can't tame the untamed.